Welcome to the Overrated Experience Sports Betting Podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Blondin. This is episode 32 of the Sports Gaming Podcast. Welcome for those listeners who are new to the podcast, those that have been here before. The Overrated Experience Sports Betting Podcast can be followed on Twitter at Overrated Expert2 and can be found on Facebook. Yes, there is a Facebook page, the Overrated Experience Sports Betting Podcast. If you search that up, you'll find the page, and you're welcome to post from both Twitter, both Facebook, your comments, your tweets, your pictures, whatever you like related to sports gaming or sports news. So hopefully you can get some more followers there. And if you haven't joined us before, what this podcast is all about, it is a squares perspective. And if you don't know what a square is, you're in the right spot. It's the non-professional sports gambler that's looking to put some money on some of those high-end games like the Super Bowls and the games that are on TV, and also including taking a lot of overs and maybe chasing a little bit. That's the kind of audience that we'll probably be getting to and talking to. But at the end of the day, this is you, the listener, following the Overrated Experience community as we become better bettors. We learn more about the business, we understand more about the strategy, try to incorporate some of those learnings into our betting habits to make us more successful. And I really hope that we are able to grow this community and come together, share some picks, and share on successes and theories and whatever it takes to enjoy what it is in sports gaming. Why do we do it? Well, we love it, and we want to be great at it. There's no two ends about it. Some of us bet $10 a game, some of us bet a little more, but we're all at the barbecues. Going to be at the barbecues this summer talking about some bad beats, some big wins, some underdogs that came through for us. So it's a bigger community, and I want to welcome everybody, and especially those out of Western United States, Washington State, consistent listeners over the last few weeks. Last many weeks actually, and I'd like to thank you. Some European, German, Irish listeners as well, Dutch, and other areas in the United States, heading back across the ocean, and of course here in our home office in Canada, where we are in the Ontario area. And we'd like to shout out to our listeners from Scarborough and the surrounding area of Toronto. So welcome and thanks again for joining us. And big weekend that just went across the board. It's over now. We move on, but we can't move on without reflecting on how the weekend went from a betting perspective. And this was a UFC weekend, and the UFC was a spectacular show. Really, last week we talked about two fights. That was the main event. Alex Pereira defending his title against Israel Adesanya, and Adesanya was trying to get his belt back. I said in the show I liked Alex Pereira to defend his title, after knocking out Israel in the previous fight. And I can tell you, if you didn't see the fight, I was exactly wrong. If you haven't checked the highlights out yet, I'd recommend it. Brutal knockout. Israel knocked him out in the second round, put him to sleep, really cemented himself as the real champ. And he basically crushed him, just destroyed him. So it's over. I think there won't be a rematch, it sounds like. So that's how that played out. And money lost into my pocket on that one. Also, Jorge Masvidal lost in a decision to Burns. Now, Burns was the favorite in that fight, a heavy favorite at that. We did talk about the fight going the distance, which it did. I know live in play for UFC, I put a few bets on there how the fight would end, to try to cover a few angles, but they all failed. So guess what? More money out of my pocket. And Jorge Masvidal said after the fight, he's done, he's retiring. And if you watch his little clip, actually a very good insight to why somebody at his level would retire from the UFC. Basically, you're fighting the top fighters in the world and you feel like you're slipping a bit. He talked about even looking at how to, look at a punch coming, and I thought it was well done, what he said. He's done. Like, he could probably be a lot of guys on the roster, but he's not here to be, down the mid-card, and he's here to be at the top, fight the best of the best, and he doesn't feel he can do that, so he's going to walk away. So, good on him, but, tough fight for him, and he walked out, didn't get knocked out, so good for him. So that's the UFC picture that passed on the weekend. Not so productive for me, not so profitable, of course. But what was the biggest event of the evening was, of the weekend, Thursday through Sunday, was, of course, the Masters. The first golf major of the year, arguably the biggest golf major of the season, has wrapped up, and your green jacket defending undisputed Masters champion of the world, Jon Rahm, put on the jacket on Sunday. He's the champ. Now, many of you out there, like I did, had Masters pools, and I can tell you that I was in the thick of things as the weekend was developing. Our boy Clyde was ahead in our pool, but Adam, part of the cartel betting syndicate here locally, had, I would say, a sneaky insert to his picks. He threw in Phil Mickelson, which when you looked at it from Thursday to Friday, looked a bit of a throwaway. Maybe a pick that, hey, I recognize that name, let me throw it in there. Phil Mickelson had a monster fourth round, or final round at the Masters, and wound up in second, surpassing Brooks Koepka. And so he took the money. He took the pool. Congratulations out there. You got the virtual green jacket in the Overrated Experience sports betting, hopefully annual Masters pool for our local connections. So great job there. And from a betting perspective, I really, paid attention this time, for, as many golf tournaments each weekend, but really focused on giving the Masters a shot, of putting a lot of bets in there. And I can tell you it was out of 10, I would say 8, 9 out of 10 as far as entertainment wise. Throughout the weekend, there was obviously many rain delays, so forcing the second round to shut down early, or first round, second round, third round impacts, and even on the final Sunday, the end of the third round had to take place before the fourth round started. It was kind of iffy if the cut was going to, who was going to make the cut. Of course, Tiger just made the cut, but he later bowed out. So it was kind of all over the place, and you kind of didn't know who was going to play at what time. But when the action was on, the weather was an impactful part of the weekend. Brooks Koepka obviously jumped out to a big lead. Jon Rahm was staying close, and Jon Rahm actually started out with a double bogey on the first hole of the tournament, which could have gone south really fast. And as the week, a few days progressed, Jon Rahm really was keeping up with Brooks Koepka, but Brooks Koepka was absolutely on fire the first couple days, hitting the shots he wanted to make, birdies, things were going his way for sure. And then, we got the LIV Tour versus the PGA Tour, so a lot going on as the tournament's progressing. But as we hit, the final round, well, I'll say the final day, because I can say as we were midway through, both Jon Rahm and Brooks Koepka were out on the course. Jon Rahm had a slightly better third round, or at least back nine of the third round, recovering from some of the struggles earlier in the round, and he crept up to Koepka pretty fast. Koepka could not get any birdies in the back nine, and the other players in the field caught up. So I could talk about Phil Mickelson, Jordan Spieth, other guys that were really gunning for to close the gap. Couldn't really close the gap when it was all said and done. But Jon Rahm was the deserving champion. Koepka kind of choked, and it's kind of ironic if you've seen the clip of Koepka a few days earlier, at a Florida Panthers game, heckling Florida Panthers defenseman Aaron Ekblad, having a pylon up in the air. And I was just hoping you had a scene where Aaron Ekblad flew down to Augusta and was just sitting there, maybe the back nine, following Brooks around, heckling, maybe like revenge heckling. I think that would have been a great story and a great promo for the NHL. But, well, they missed that opportunity. But anyway, what's the fallout of the Masters? What does it mean? Well, what it means from my perspective is that I'm going to pay more attention on a week-to-week basis on what the lines look like and what tournament and what field are going to be playing each weekend leading up to the PGA Championship, which is later in May, and the next pool we'll put together for the community out here locally. And just other thoughts on this is that the LIV Tour, I think, with the top three, two out of the three top three finishers, and actually was it 3 out of 5, I guess, with Reed in there, that were live golf players. That I think there's going to be more and more of a demand to allow these players to enter PGA tournaments that are not just the majors. And I think there's going to be some evolution in how these two organizations work together in some way, somehow, because you can't ignore some of the golfers that the LIV Tour has, including a guy like Brooks Koepka. Although he choked near the end there, he was pretty fantastic the first couple of days. So LIV versus PGA is going strong. Disappointing the performance by Rory McIlroy, one of the tournament favorites. He couldn't make the cut. I talked about Tiger making the cut but bowing out as we headed into the final day. And Scottie Scheffler, world number one golfer, really had a strong finish, but not the finish that he was defending Masters champion, and I think he came to this tournament deservedly so, expecting to take away another green jacket. So expect him to be on fire, and you'll notice that he'll be one of my main picks coming into the RBC Heritage Classic. So that's what we're going to talk about as we look for the rest of the podcast. We're going to talk about the golf event, which has a very, very strong field from the PGA this weekend, the RBC Heritage Classic. And that we're also going to look at the NBA playoff, some of the series that are going to take place, and some of the bets, the options, and some of the picks we'll make. Also, take a quick look at the NHL scene that is still developing. It's amazing that there's still only one playoff series locked in, and we'll see how that plays out, and we'll just touch base on that a little bit. And we'll do a quick, take a look at the NFL draft that's quickly coming up, which will happen April 27th to 29th. A lot of betting action, a lot of line movement, and something, again, if you're a football fan, may be interesting to you on a Thursday night, round one, to put a few dollars down for fun. But if you're, really interested, now's the time to look at the value, as you might make a move today that may result in a bigger payoff instead of leading up to the draft, hours earlier, where, maybe there's more insiders that know more than we think. So let's kick it off here. So let's talk about the RBC Heritage Classic. This golf has got me on fire here. Great value here in betting. Just some fun weekend if you have nothing to do, unless you have that trip to Walmart you need to make. But that's what you got a phone for, and you can follow it. And actually, shout out to anybody that can suggest, either via the Overrated Experience Sports Betting Facebook page, drop a post, or tweet us at Overrated EXPER2. Some of the golf sites that you use to track some of the weekend events, because when you have multiple 3-ball or multiple golfers you're trying to keep track of, sometimes it's very challenging to sort them all and muddle through the whole tournament field to get to the players that you want and see how they're performing. I think, and I could be wrong, maybe Bet365, even though I was using Fan Duel, is probably the best sports app for many sports, but I noticed golf, that you would go to the sporting app, and that is Bet365, to follow and feel that you're getting the latest information, the latest results, and the way it's packaged as well. Your players are together. I didn't get that feeling with FanDuel. They had some nice wagers to play, but they're not the go-to when it comes to checking out the live action, how the bet is going. I think Bet365 does own the market on that. So, but if I'm wrong, let me know, or there's another site that helps track and golfers much easier. And maybe it's not Bet365, please let me know. All right, RBC picks this weekend, like I said, is a strong field. Jon Rahm, Masters champion, coming off the green jacket, is going to be in South Carolina, along with some guys like Scottie Scheffler, Justin Spieth, also like Colin Morikawa, Shane Lowry, Siwoo Kim. There's a lot of players here that are also getting FedEx points. So the golf obviously has the big events, the majors, but they also have the FedEx Cup, which is very, very lucrative, millions of dollars at stake. And the more points they get, the more chance they're going to have to win more money at the end. It's hard to explain, but maybe in a later show I'll explain how the FedEx Cup works and why you might see some strong fields and more strong fields as we get closer to the fall time period. So if we're looking at outright, meaning that a player I would take to win the entire tournament over the 4 days, I am thinking Scottie Scheffler is going to be on the Scottie Scheffler Revenge Tour. If you watched any of the Masters, you followed any of the Scottie Scheffler rounds prior to the final round, he looked like a pissed off golfer that knew that he wasted an opportunity to be in the mix in the final grouping on the weekend. And he is the best, arguably top 3 golfers, maybe the best. Jon Rahm's proven to be the best right now, but Scottie Scheffler is absolutely one of the best golfers in the world. I just don't see him. I see him trying to right the wrong of what happened in the Masters and not let a performance like that happen again. So Scottie Scheffler to me at plus 850, there's great value there to outright win the tournament, but there might be a better bet for him to finish in the top 5. That's plus 210. Now, if you do place the wager, you got to place it before the tournament starts. So you got to be very early. So you may not hear this podcast until tomorrow afternoon. So you might have to look at outright winner as the tournament progresses. But Scottie Scheffler, to me, whether it be to win the tournament or top 5 at plus 210, might be a value play to consider. Now, match play, meaning that you're picking a golfer versus another golfer to have a better outcome as the weekend continues. So 4 rounds. So here's what I like. I like Adam Scott minus 112 to beat Sepp Straka. Honestly, I don't know who the hell Sepp Straka is. I don't understand why you would name a child Sepp Straka, but hey, the guy's a professional golfer, and I'm not, but I'll take Adam Scott, who had a strong showing at the Masters, at minus 112. Siwoo Kim, that if you recognize, he was paired with Tiger Woods in the later rounds, had a strong showing. He's a minus 142, a heavy favorite, but a good value pick over Keegan Bradley, in my opinion. Shane Lowry, who kind of struggles up and down, but he's better than what he showed at the Masters, in my opinion. Minus 108 versus Tyrell Hatton. I'll take that. Colin Morikawa, which is just, consistency. Why am I screwing up the name? Colin Morikawa is a top-end player, and he's up against Victor Hovland. Morikawa's at minus 124. Victor Hovland had a really good performance at the Masters. I felt, watching closely, his performance was very up and down. He was red hot in third-round action, birdies after birdies. I think he had like 6 straight birdies or whatever it was. But he tended to fluctuate up and down. The consistency of a Jon Rahm or, of a Scottie Scheffler when they're going, I don't think is there. So I'm banking on that we're not going to see the Victor Hovland of round 3. He had a great performance, but I like Morikawa to, over a 4-day stretch, to take over Victor Hovland this weekend. Also, Jordan Spieth against Patrick Cantlay. I think there's value here because Justin Spieth had a tremendous showing with at the final round of the Masters. Had a lot of birdies there. I do like the fact that Jordan Spieth, not Justin Spieth. I'm all over the place. Sorry, guys. Jordan Spieth at plus 140 to beat Patrick Cantlay. So I think there's value there. Cantley's the favorite, but I like Justin Spieth to take this one. Man, I keep saying Jordan Spieth, Michael Jordan. Come on. Okay, sorry. Back in the game. Scottie Scheffler also minus 138 over Jon Rahm. And I'm picking against Jon Rahm only because I can't imagine somebody who won his first green jacket on Sunday after a wild weekend, one being 100% motivated like they were in the Masters, 2 not being hung over by the time they get to the weekend, and having their top performance against a Scottie Scheffler. So I'll take Scottie Scheffler in match play. Now you got 3-ball, which again is 3 players matched up against each other, and these guys are usually in the same group that are going around the course together at the same time. And the goal here is that you pick one of these golfers, and you're hoping that they win outright and have a better round of play. So this is for round 1. So for round 1 of the RBC Heritage, I have Shane Lowry at plus 175 over Xander Schauffele, and Thigala. Justin Thomas, I think he is well valued at plus 175 here over Victor Hovland. I told you already about Victor Hovland, my thoughts there, and Sam Burns. Justin Thomas, I think, was impacted by the off schedule, starting early, starting later, weather. I see him settled in a good weather tournament here that we're probably going to see in South Carolina. So plus 175, I do see value in round one. Colin Morikawa. Again, I talked about consistency, and he's against Patrick Cantley and Corey Connors. Plus 175, Morikawa, I would take it. Corey Connors struggled at the Masters, did not have the showing I know he wanted, and the finish he wanted. But, I'll go with Morikawa on this one. Scotty Scheffler talked about minus 110 here to win against Cameron Young, who's a good young golfer. A little inconsistent, and I like the consistency of Scotty Scheffler. Minus 110 for a Scotty Scheffler, I think is good value. And they're also Webb Simpson. I'm not going to comment on Webb Simpson. Jordan Spieth, not Justin, plus 175 over John Rahm, Adam Scott. This is a tougher selection, but I do believe that, kicking off the tournament, Jordan Spieth has a good value here. Adam Scott started off well in the Masters as well. John Rahm, obviously champ, but I'll take Jordan Spieth for tomorrow. And that's my look at the RBC Heritage Classic. Again, if you haven't tried the betting, it doesn't have to end because you missed the tee off in the morning. Some of these groups do not start until later in the day. So look at the times. So if you miss, as an example, Siwoo Kim that's cut off at 7:30 for his match play against Keegan Bradley. You can always jump on Colin Morikawa's match play against Victor Hovland at 8:17. And some of the 3-ball matchups are progressing through the morning and the day, so you can get some of those afternoons, like the Jordan Spieth one doesn't kick off till after 1 o'clock, so you have time. All right, moving on from exciting golf action to NBA playoff series reviews. And as we're talking right now, the NBA playoffs are not 100% set because we do have the NBA play-in round that's happening right now. And just came off watching our hometown Raptors choke badly, terribly, embarrassingly. And what we've seen was a huge lead over the Bulls at halftime. And when you're watching a game, it's almost like you're watching a movie and the director is trying to foreshadow, tell you what's good, hint at what's going to happen, almost like, hey guys, look over here. Make sure you see that this is happening or this character is doing this because it's going to come back again and it's going to be a part of the story. And that's exactly what happened during this game. The Raptors throughout the year have had games where they look just spectacular, but they tend to have quarters where they get blown out, give up a lot of points, and or they can't shoot. So my fear coming into this game is that they would be ice cold from three-point land. That wasn't the case. It was the free throws that they struggled in all game. They were missing free throw after free throw after free throw after free throw. They were in control of the game, but they were giving up points early on and often. And as the fourth quarter hit, you have to look at, you foreshadowed, okay, this is going to come back to haunt them. Some way this game's going to get close, or somehow it's going to bury them if they can't hit free throws. And guess what happened? That's exactly what happened. They couldn't hit free throws. Zach LaVine took the Bulls on his back. It's 39 points, but if you watch the way he performed in the fourth quarter, hitting big threes, driving the lane, he was a man on fire, and the Raptors could not find a player anywhere that could step up to the level of Zach LaVine did for the Bulls. So the Bulls knock off the Raptors. And just to emphasize the whole free throw point, Pascal Siakam has awarded 3 free throws, which I don't think he should have. Getting fouled near the end while the Raptors were in the bonus. They said he was shooting. He hits the first free throw and misses 2 free throws. So it's not even like if he gets at least 2 of the 3 that they have a shot that, because they have to foul, that they're going to have an opportunity to have at least one more possession to tie the game. That is choking. This is where the Raptors are now in a position where it's over. Fred VanVleet, nice player, but he's a complementary player. Pascal Siakam, he's max money, but he's not a max player. They don't have the players that are meant or are going to take them anywhere but a potential just to qualify for a play-in round. They give up 37 points in the fourth quarter. Disgusting. But what I can tell you on the bright side is I did take the Bulls +6. That paid off. I did take the over 212. That paid off. So, hey, it paid off for me, but as a Raptors fan, not the ending I was looking for. It's going to be Miami, who got embarrassed, actually, against Atlanta the other night, taking on the Chicago Bulls on Friday. This should be a decent matchup, but Miami should probably squeeze it out. And also, we had last night the Lakers knocking off the Minnesota Timberwolves, and the Timberwolves will have to wait till Friday to play the winner of the game I'm watching right now. OKC in New Orleans is a tight game, but Minnesota walked in LA down Rudy Gobert, who was suspended a game for punching Kyle Anderson during a huddle. Like Rudy Gobert, they traded 5 first-round draft picks for him. He has a monster contract, maybe want to consider the top 2, top 3 worst contracts in the NBA. But that being said, Rudy Gobert, 7+ feet in the middle, obviously value there. The T-Wolves have injury issues that were leading into the Laker game. T-Wolves start off strong. They're heading into the fourth quarter, and they also choke. They choke away, can't score any points. Go into overtime, they score, 4 points in 5 minutes? It's disgusting. Anthony Edwards, I thought would have had a big game. He did not. He did not come up. Had, 9 points for the T-Wolves, so they better get their act together heading into Friday night. We'll see what happens, or whatever they're... You know what? It's got to be tomorrow. I can't remember if it is not. Maybe Saturday. So, a lot there. Now we get into the NBA series matchups and some of the intriguing matchups for sure. As I go to my little notepad here, Brooklyn has 0 shot. Brooklyn is, when you look at the series, the Sixers are heavy favorites, as they should be. I am going to say the value here is maybe this series goes 5, and you take the series going 5 at +175. Maybe Embiid gets a breather. Some of the 2 games back in Brooklyn. But I can't see... I see the Cinderella story that is the Brooklyn Nets done. So Sixers walk in 5, +175 is the value play, in my opinion. Interesting matchup, Knicks and Cavs. Knicks are a underdog, +172, as they should be. I mean, the Cavs are, proved to be a better team. They have home court advantage, which is huge. But do you tell me you can't see the Knicks maybe pulling this one out at +172 as underdogs for the series? I think they could. I think the Knicks do have the firepower to, the Cavs are not necessarily experienced either. So they may be a different team in the playoffs versus what we see in the regular season. And what I do like, though, on top of that, so the Knicks value play at 172, but game 1, the Knicks are 6.5-point underdogs. I like the Knicks to cover. I mean, Randall looks like a game-time decision, but I'm going to go that he's going to play. So if Randall is playing and there's no key injuries, +6.5 on Saturday is the play for me. So I'll take that. Other news and notes on some of the other playoff series, including Kings, Warriors, I think is the most interesting series. I think the Cinderella team everybody wants to see make a run are the Sacramento Kings. Are they going to make a run? I don't know. I think obviously Golden State, if you watch them for 82 games, had their ups and downs, injuries. You had Wiggins leave. You had a personal issue you had to deal with. He's back. So this team is coming together at the right time, and I think they'll start turning it on. They've obviously the track record. The Sacramento Kings do not, but a +240, it's going to be put a small little sprinkle on the Sacramento Kings. It's going to be a fun run, and you want to. Your mind says, stay away from it or parlay the Warriors series with something else. But your heart says, man, I'm not a pro. I'm a square better, and I like the action. So the Kings are where the action's at. But I'll reverse that by saying game 1, Golden State is a 1-point dog as they visit Sacramento on Saturday evening. I would take Golden State. If you get Golden State in a playoff scenario that they're only a +1, you grab it. They're the dog. I think their value's there. They lose, but Golden State, as an underdog in a playoff situation, you take it, and you take it all day. Hawks, Celtics, not really much there. Not going to put anything there. Also, I was looking at Suns, Clippers. Man, Paul George doesn't look like he's going to start the series. I don't see the Suns losing that one, so I really don't have a play there. Lakers, Grizzlies. I mean, plus 115 Lakers. Can you see the Grizzlies don't have a track record for rings or championships. I mean, they have a pretty good team. Ja Morant's back. They can do it. But the Lakers seem like they're back in it, back on a roll. Anthony Davis is the key because he has to be the guy driving the bus to get over the hump here. And I think the moves the Lakers did at the trade deadline are going to be enough to push them by the Grizzlies. So I like the Lakers in this series plus 115. And I also like the Lakers plus 3.5 on Sunday when they open up the series in Memphis. That is the NBA picture. Just quickly jumping over to NHL action. So not much is out there right now as far as NHL playoff series action. Now, not much going on as well to pick on the remaining games. There are some big games left that mean playoff implications, but I'm not touching them. But one of the Fan Duel interesting bets that I see here is on the one locked-in series, the Toronto Maple Leafs taking on the Tampa Bay Lightning. Leafs haven't won in like 65 years a first-round matchup, so I don't know as a Leaf fan how much faith I have. But I want them to win. I'm not going to lock them in the win. We'll see what happens. It's got to play out. But one of the interesting bets I thought was cool to look at, and I don't think I've seen before, and this is series correct win order. So you're looking at all the different scenarios, how the series could play out. So it's not necessarily saying, hey, the Leafs are going to win in 4 games to 2. It's about each game, how are they going to do it. If you think the Leafs are going to, let's say, I don't know, win in 6 games, you could say Toronto game 1, Tampa in game 2, Toronto game 3, Toronto game 4, Tampa this time. So you're really mapping out exactly if the Leafs win 4-2, which games are going to win, which games are going to lose in that 7-game series, or vice versa with the Tampa Bay Lightning. If you think the Lightning are going to win in 5 games, do you think that they're going to drop the first one and then win the next 4? So there's a lot. These odds are in the plus 3,300s and 1,000s and 1,700s. So if you want an interesting bet and maybe pick a few of them, do it. It looks like a fun bet and something interesting I don't think I've seen before. So that's on Fan Duel. I'm not sure what the other sites have, but something interesting I thought I'd share with you. So that's the NHL action right now. Again, only one series matchup. We'll get more into it as time goes on. But I will say it's also hockey pool season, meaning that back in the day it used to be you pick players and you take their goals and assists and you pick goalies for their shutouts and wins. And now it's evolved to, you'd be with Yahoo or Office Pools, and I guess you could select, penalty minutes and all that crap. I think for hockey, that's the worst of all the fantasy. It means nothing. I hate that. I think you stick, in my opinion, I'm going to go on record here as the best hockey pool that I would recommend that you join is you sit around, you pick players, you do a snake draft where you randomly pick who's picking 1 to 10 or 1 to 8, how many ever people you have in the draft. If you got the 8th pick out of 8 players, you're going to pick 8, 9 and go back and forth and back and forth. Recommendation, you pick a good group amount of players to pick, so you have to get into the weeds of some of the teams and pick some players you would normally pick, because the idea here is I would be in a pool that only counts goals and assists, and you're recording points, not, again, penalty minutes or body checks and power play goals versus regular goals. I hate that garbage for hockey. Points means goals and assists. Just add them up for the player. Now, the key function is that you decide on your rules about goalkeepers, whether you take team goalies, so that maybe you take 1 or 2 team goalies and take their shutouts and wins, and decide on what point totals those are valued at. And then what I'd recommend as well is that, because the goal should be that you're trying to grab the team you think is going to make a run, so that if you don't think the Oilers are going to make a run, then maybe you don't take McDavid first overall. Maybe you take Pasternak because the Bruins you think are going to take a run. Or you think you take McDavid because you think the points he's going to accumulate in 2 rounds is going to be better than 4 rounds of Bergevin, Marchand, and Pasternak that they're going to put together. So you really got to think strategically of how far a team's going to go in the playoffs. And then maybe you got to get down to their 5th or 6th defenseman. So if you think Edmonton's going to make a run, maybe you're going to their depth chart and picking guys ahead of stars because they're going to be there when the finals kicks around, if that's what you think. So keep that in mind. Keep it simple. Use office pools is pretty solid for that kind of a draft that I'm suggesting. But that, to me, is the pure NHL playoff draft, and that's just the way it is because I've done it. And last but not least, just touching again on the NFL draft. I talked about it earlier in the show. It's creeping up. It's becoming more of a betting popular option for players out there. It's going to be on a Thursday night on April 27th for the first round. And if you're a hardcore football fan, now's the time to look at the value. So if I look at the NFL draft today and you look at some of the mock drafts out there, Bryce Young is a minus 270 out of Alabama. The belief is that Carolina is going to take him for the first overall pick. C.J. Stroud, the quarterback from Ohio State, is believed to be the top number 2 pick. And then you have some interesting. Anthony Richardson out of Florida has moved ahead of Will Levis out of Kentucky, who's, the idea, a lot of the mock drafts have these 4 quarterbacks going maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, or very early in the first round. The key is going to be the Arizona Cardinals. Arizona Cardinals don't need a quarterback. They've got Kyler Murray. They've signed him to a deal. Are they going to keep that pick a non-quarterback, or are they going to actually take an offer, a phone call, and take a call from the Titans or Colts to move up a spot, or like I said, the Titans are more of a jump, or another team, Atlanta, maybe the Raiders jump up, and that puts things out of whack because then it puts Anthony Richard maybe higher up in the number 2 slot or 3 slot, or it could change the value depending on what trade is or is not made. So if you're going to bet now, take your chances. Anthony Richardson out of Florida is the wild card. He seems to be the guy that the pro day workouts everybody's enamored with. He's got the cannon of an arm. He's got speed. He's got everything you want in a quarterback. But he's a wild card. He's either going to be a Zach Wilson, or he's going to be like I just lost my train of thought. He's going to be a superstar. It's one of those things you just don't know, but take a look at your betting site. I'm looking at Fan Duel right now. And if you're going to place a wager, I think now's the time to do it. It's a little bit of a tricky scenario because it is somebody with more inside knowledge is going to have more of an advantage. So let's not kid ourselves. It's not the outcome of a game like the game of football is. It's more of a, somebody's got a hot tip and they know where to put their money. So be careful not to put too much on it. But that's the NFL draft. Exciting stuff. Take a look at your sports betting site to see what's up with that. But I think we've touched everything we need to touch this week. Please hit us up on Twitter, Overrated Experience, EXPER2. That is, and then obviously on the Facebook page, Overrated Experience Sports Betting Podcast. We'll talk to you when you talk to you. The pleasure's all been yours, and we're over, and we're out.